Mike's hot.
On 98.7 ESPN.
I have to say, as exceptionally handsome as I find Joe Douglas, we're about to have our first fight. Carlin, right here on a big, big night. And if you want to ignore all of it, this is the place to be at 800-919-3776. And boy, we do actually have a lot of big things to discuss. And I want to get you involved early and often in the show. Of course, on the phones at 800-919-3776 and on Twitter as well at Chris Carlin. Make sure that you are checking that out. We will get into your tweets tonight. We will get into a lot of baseball tonight, specifically the Yankees and Mets. We are targeting our interview with Buster Olney on the Yankees and the Mets. And I'm told there is a big name to be brought up when it comes to Mets general manager / president. That's a real possibility that Buster will discuss with us in just a little while. We will also get into what we saw last night with Daniel Jones and where the problem really lies with him and why it is entirely too early to give up on Daniel Jones. But we start with this earlier exchange today with Joe Douglas, who was on the Michael Kay show and also met with reporters, and our very own Rich Cimini, who is going to join us at the bottom of the hour to try to sort this out. Please take a listen.
In your opinion, can this team get to where you want it to be with Adam as the head coach?
Yes. Ultimately, like I said, I have to do a better job for all these coaches and players. And the hope is that we can fix these problems together and be here together for a while.
So you're saying he's part of the solution then?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Adam Gase is part of the solution. Now, look, there are a few different issues that we have to address. But for Joe, that was a big, big misstep in my estimation. I understand that we are in the middle of the season and they are not making a move anytime soon. And frankly, nor should they, because I think at the very least at this point, you ought to ride this out to make sure that Adam Gase is your coach the rest of the year to ensure that you get the number one overall pick. He had nothing but positive things to say about Sam Darnold, and I wouldn't expect it to be any other way. I really wouldn't expect much to be any other way. The problem is you have to find a much different way to handle the Adam Gase question than he did today to endorse him as part of the solution. Adam Gase is not part of the solution. Adam Gase is a big part of the problem because he cannot be a head coach in this league. And that has never been more apparent than the last few years when he has been a head coach in this league. Ever since that first playoff appearance with the Miami Dolphins, it has been headed downhill. And you could point to whatever you want to, any injuries you want, all of it. Not having enough weapons to work with, all fine. Okay? Adam Gase isn't a good head coach. He's a bad head coach. He cannot coach the Jets beyond this year. And when you say something like that Adam Gase is part of the solution, it is unintentionally misleading the fans, because what does a fan think today when they hear that? Even though they understand there are times where you're not going to be hearing the truth from the general manager, where you're going to be hearing the company line because that's what you do. You're not going to fire somebody in a press conference mid-season. That's not going to happen. But what you can do, and he did say this plenty of times, but he needed to say it in that particular case, is we are all judged on wins and losses. We are all going to have to be part of the solution. We are going to all have to figure this out. And there's a big reason why he can't even say something like that. Why he can't even say we're all going to be evaluated at the end of the year, as so often we hear about when you hear about coaches and managers that are on the hot seat. Well, everybody's evaluating, and we'll look at the situation at the end of the year and see how it all plays out. He can't even say that right now. Why? Because of the real problem. And that is the structure of the New York Jets. You can look around the league at successful organizations and say that the head coach and the general manager both report separately to the owner. This should not be the case with the New York Jets. And there's a simple reason why. Christopher Johnson, Woody Johnson, they have not been around successful teams long enough to be in a position to make that decision accurately. Because already you've had Christopher Johnson come out this season and call Adam Gase an offensive genius. Now, Michael and the boys were talking earlier about how Gase must have this Svengali type effect on people the way he has so many snowed. I don't think it's that right now. You can't snow people at 0-8. I think Joe said what he said today because Joe's not the guy who's ultimately going to fire Adam Gase. So he can't take a shot at a guy publicly who is on an even playing field with him. That's where the real problem is. It never should have been set up this way. And now that it is, it has to be changed this coming off season. Look, if Gase is the coach the rest of the season for the Jets, I don't have a problem. Because you know what they have to do right now? And I know, that this is heresy. The Jets have to get the number one pick. They have to get the number one pick. And to do that, you have to ensure that you're doing everything possible to not win games and do it within reason so it looks good. And Adam Gase is a bad head coach. Adam Gase is going to give you the best chance to not win a game or two. And the real problem comes from this. If the Jets win a game, it all of a sudden becomes infinitely more difficult to get the first overall pick because of the strength of schedule. Their strength of schedule is so much better and harder than everybody else's that the ones with weaker strengths of schedule with one win are going to be in a much better position. The Jets can't afford to win a game. But at the same time, you can't publicly endorse a guy, even though you're on that same page. You have to continue. Even though you may feel like it's the thing that you have to say, you have to continue to position it as we. And he did a lot of that today. But it got away from him in one comment. You can't say he's part of the solution. You can't do it. Not directly. And Rich basically pinned him down on that, and that's a mistake. Look, I love actually a good amount of what I heard today. He's never going to take out a player. He's never going to say that Sam Darnold isn't the quarterback of the future for the Jets, even though if the Jets end up with the number one pick, Sam Darnold's going to be gone. Mark it down. Just assuming that Trevor Lawrence wants to be a New York Jet, it doesn't matter how well Sam Darnold plays the rest of the season. Trevor Lawrence is going to be a Jet. But he's never going to say that Darnold isn't the guy because there's too much that can happen between now and then, and you're going to ruin that kid before the season's over. Of course you're not. Of course you're not. What you are going to do is come forward and actually admit you made a mistake, which I give him a ton of credit for, with Robbie Anderson. Joe Douglas actually said today, yeah, I would much rather see Robbie doing what he's doing for us as opposed to for the Carolina Panthers. And maybe we misread that situation a little bit. Give him credit. When do you hear a GM say something like that? Like, we screwed that one up. That doesn't happen very often. But you cannot give a fan base that is in this amount of pain any sort of reason to believe that the head coach, who is overmatched in virtually every way, could possibly return next year. I still don't believe it'll happen. And I get that Joe doesn't have the power to fire him. I understand that. But while other teams may be structured this way, where both report to the owner, it can't be that way here. Joe's got to be the guy making the call. Joe should be the one hiring the coach, and that's how it should be structured right now for the Jets. Because, frankly, they just don't have people in place around that, or around them in ownership. Christopher Johnson, and it's not a knock on him. He just shouldn't be the one making that decision, even though he owns the team. He makes the decision if the GM has to go, if everybody has to go. Of course, it's his team. He can do what he wants. But if you want to have success, you can't have a situation where you're picking the GM and picking the coach completely separately and having arranged marriages here. And that's what the Jets have. Even though Gase wanted Douglas here, I don't buy for a second that Joe's beholden to him. I think it was a bad moment where he misspoke, but the real problem with the New York Jets is the structure. The structure. But there's just no way possible that you can say he's part of the solution. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. We are, of course, on smart speakers at Play 98.7 ESPN. We are on ESPN.com. We are on the ESPN app. We are, of course, on the radio at 98.7. The video of the show, in case you didn't know, is also simulcast now on ESPN New York over on Facebook, on ESPN 98.7 over on Twitter, on, what else are we on? Twitch, my Twitch, and on my YouTube channel. So it's pretty much everywhere. If you need to get away from it all tonight, this is the place to be. Buster Olney is going to join us in just a little while with some great insight. Rich Cimini is going to join us in just a few minutes with even more great Jets insight. I promise you will feel flush with information and enlightened by the time the next 3 hours are up. Carlin, 7:15, 98.7 ESPN. And look, when it boils down to saying the right things, there is an art to it without saying something that is going to anger people, especially when you understand that the fan base wants no part of the head coach for the future. Head coach is awful. Adam Gase is a terrible, terrible head coach. So there is, even though no firing power there for Joe, the structure has to be completely changed. Plenty of teams might do it around the league. Doesn't mean that it's right here, because it's not. 800-919-3776. A little unusual, but I'm going to allow it tonight. No, the purge is not beginning. It is Richard in Manhattan to start things off this evening. Hello, Richard.
Hi, Chris. Chris, Avery Williamson goes from 0-8 Jets to 7-0 Steelers.
That's why in his little Instagram post, he looked like he was more than happy to be headed out of town.
Oh, boy, I bet that's never happened, something like that. Chris, do you think this year, if somebody asks you, the number is 1, under or over, kickoff returns for a touchdown? Do you think it'll happen?
I would say it's probably, man, I'd bet the over, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Yet.
I know it hasn't happened yet. And that's because of the rules, the way they are in the NFL. It's so rare that the ball even gets brought out now, unless it's a short kick.
1 out of 5 are brought out.
Yeah, I mean, that's rare. 20%, that's rare. You know? Well, that's a problem.
I got a quiz for you, Chris.
A quiz?
Yeah.
A Chris quiz.
Movie question.
It's a quiz. Yeah.
Okay. In the movie The Dallas Cowboy Cheerleaders, what Yankee had a big role in that movie?
All right, I never saw the movie.
It was in all right, I'll give you a hint, so you should get it. It was in the movie was released in January of 79, which probably means it was shot in October, November, December of 78, because it came out in January of 79. So again, which Yankee had a starring role in that? I gave you the dates, so that should give it to you.
Reggie Jackson?
Close, but not Reggie. This guy was, at that time, bigger than Reggie.
Bigger than Reggie? Not Billy.
Bigger than Billy. Remember what I said, 1978.
Catfish?
November, December. November.
Catfish, 70, Guidry?
Nope. Bigger than Guidry.
Who?
Bucky Dent.
Well, okay, for 1 home run, okay. He's bigger than... You can't say Bucky Dent's bigger than Reggie Jackson.
At that time he was. I said
no, you can't say that, Richard.
He was the hottest thing around. But Chris, good-looking guy. He played it so great. He was a sympathetic figure.
How did we get here?
Well,
it's a question a lot of people are asking tonight, but how did we get here?
All right. Chris, I got one more thing for you. You like to bet, don't you? Chris, do you bet at all?
I have been known to place a wager.
All right. I'm looking in the papers. Jacksonville is hosting Texas, Houston Texans. Both teams are 1-6. Point differentials are almost the same. Jacksonville is the home team, and the Texans are favored by 6. How could you not take Jacksonville? They're home. They have the same record, and you're giving them 6 points. Can you give me a reason why you would not take Jacksonville?
What's going on with Jacksonville right now at quarterback?
I think they're using the third
still Minshew. I feel like there was something else going on there. Yeah, they're starting Jake Luton this week. That's why.
That's the reason it's
a rookie.
Points.
Yeah, they're starting Jake Luton. That's why it's a 6-point favorite.
But during a pandemic and all of this that's going on, I think that's less of a factor than it would be in a regular NFL season. No?
Not when it's a 6th-round pick as a rookie.
All right, 6 points. That's a lot of points for
a lot of points.
Playing a team with the same record that you have. I'll call you next week and I'll let you know.
All right,
Oh, Chris,
Richard.
one last thing.
Richard, talk to me. You're a soothing individual, so please.
Last thing. In 3 weeks from tomorrow, one of the biggest games in New York City college basketball in a long time that I can remember, since St. John's was good. Rick Pitino brings Iona over to Fordham's Rose Hill Gym. I'm looking forward to that. No?
I'm not a Rick Pitino guy. Thanks for the call.
Okay, I want to see him do good at Iona. I want to see Iona back. I want to see somebody.
Listen, I have no problem with Iona, but they should never hire Rick Pitino, Richard. Thanks for the call, because Rick Pitino is, what am I looking for? The worst. The worst. Rick Pitino is the worst. That's right. I did John Ralphio. That's right. Rick Pitino is the worst in every possible way. Where is it here? I have it. I know he's the worst. Come on. Can't find my sound effect.
The worst. The worst. The worst.
The worst person in the world, as Keith Olbermann would say. Olbermann. Dre in West Orange. Hello, Dre. What do you got for me tonight?
What up, Carlin? How you doing, man?
You know Dre.
You already know, man. The last call, I know as soon as you talk to him, I know it's like you're ready to shut down and go off.
There are times, Dre, that Richard fascinates me, though. Understand this.
Carlin, I listen to you every night, man. Like, I love you, man. You're like the best.
I appreciate you.
Anything, I like it.
Hey, are you in West Orange? Is Pal's Cabin still open, or is that gone?
Oh, no, it's long gone. It's a CBS now.
Oh, man. I liked Pal's Cabin.
Yeah, it's long gone.
What about the Eagle Rock Diner? Little ERD. Eagle Rock Diner?
Oh, no, yeah, they turned it into another diner now. I actually go there. It's really good. You should stop by.
Okay.
I wanted to call you. I was going to ask you about the Joe Douglas' interview with the Michael Kay show.
Mm-hmm.
But I also I forgot to tell the screener, the person who screens the call. I wanted to ask you about the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Do you think if they end up with the first pick in the draft, which is probably not going to happen, being the fact that the Jets suck so much, do you think they'll draft Trevor Lawrence, or what do you think they'll do with that pick? And,
but here's the thing, okay? Let's just argue for a second that the Cowboys didn't win another game, and somehow the Jets won 2, and a couple of these other teams won a second game. The Cowboys are not dead because they have the winning percentage of the teams that they're losing to is so bad. It's only 467, their strength of schedule now. The answer to your question is yes, they would absolutely draft Trevor Lawrence and let Dak Prescott go.
Really?
Absolutely. I have no doubt that's exactly what would happen.
I think this season is showing how valuable Dak is to the Cowboys. Like,
Absolutely.
Really.
Absolutely.
The offense is horrible.
Absolutely.
We're number one to being probably last right now.
Well, I think I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever that they would take Trevor Lawrence. I think anybody that has the first overall pick, no matter who they are, if they even felt like they had, like if, for instance, if you were the Miami Dolphins right now, I mean, you're taking a hard look at Tua, but if you have the number 1 overall pick, and you're looking at you could have the number 1 pick because you have Houston's number 1 pick, because of the trade, the Laramie Tunsil deal. You could be looking hard at that.
Yes,
like, is Trevor Lawrence going to be our guy, or is Tua going to be our guy?
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just can't picture Trevor Lawrence on the Cowboys, but that'd be something crazy to watch if that happened. And I'll get off the call right after this. I just wanted to ask you with the Joe Douglas interview.
Yeah.
Do you feel like he answered the questions right, or do you feel like he's just still sticking up for Adam Gase for no reason? Like,
I don't think he's sticking up for Adam. I think he's sticking up for Adam Gase because he doesn't have hiring and firing power. But I don't think that he would even if he did, he's not a guy that's going to rip anybody to shreds publicly. He's just not going to do that. I think if he had control of hiring or firing the coach, his answer would have been different. His answer would have been more along the lines of, well, everybody gets evaluated at the end of the year, and that's when we'll make our decisions. That kind of thing, especially when you're only halfway into the season.
Okay, great. All right, man. Thanks a lot, Carlin.
All right, Trey.
You taking my call.
Thanks, bud.
Take care, man. Take
We'll
care.
talk more about it next. Rich Cimini joins us in moments, 98.7 ESPN. All right, let's straighten this out. Rich Cimini, our Jets reporter for ESPN New York, underpaid every week to watch the Jets, joins us right now.
Yes.
Hey,
Chris, how you doing?
What the hell happened this afternoon? Was it too strong of endorsement, Rich? What was your takeaway from what Joe had to say about Adam Gase? Let's just start there.
Okay, that's a good place to start. I mean, I think it was my question. I was kind of pressing him on.
It was, and it was a very good question. We played it before, as you and you laid it all out there for him. Is he then part of the solution? And he answered yes, and that's where he lost me, frankly.
Well, I was a little surprised by that, but I mean, let's look at the dynamic here. The dynamic is, and I think you just tweeted about a short time ago, under the Jets' current structure, technically Joe Douglas is not going to be determining Adam Gase's fate. So as much as Joe came out today and said, he wants to be there with Adam, he wants to fix this together for a long time, he's part of the solution. The fact of the matter is, in 8 weeks, Christopher Johnson is just going to say, we're going to have a new coach. So I mean, that's what that is. I mean, kind of GM speak today. I didn't expect him to come out and trash Adam, but Joe was taking all the bullets today, and I commend him for that. But so that's what was happening there with that endorsement of Adam Gase.
Okay, but I think that we can agree that there was a way to do it so it didn't actually sound like an endorsement of Adam Gase. There was a lot of we in there, and you're right, he's publicly taking the bullets, but that to me is one of those answers where you can just go and say, we're all evaluated at the end of the year by wins and losses and how the season goes and all that. We all are. We're all trying to be part of the solution. But this is the kind of answer that can anger an already ticked off fan base, no?
Yeah, well, I mean, we know how the fan base feels about Adam Gase for sure. And, he could have gone that route, the one you just described. But I think Joe came into the press conference today thinking, I'm going to take everything on myself. I thought it was a level of accountability, the likes of which I don't think I've ever seen from a Jet official in public. So it was refreshing to hear the candor. But I think you're right. In the case of Gase, he probably did go a little bit too far. He probably could have reeled it back in a little bit.
I think when it comes to Robbie Anderson, though, you're 100% right. I can't remember a GM coming out and saying, yeah, we kind of screwed that one up.
Yeah, he said they miscalculated his market value. And he said, we don't want to let good players out of the building. And he basically said, yeah, we messed it up. And Robbie's having a career year. And so that he took that one, and he earned that one, too. I mean, it's clear that was a mistake. They haven't replaced Robbie. The guy who was supposed to replace him can't even get on the field, and that's for Rashad Perryman.
Rich Cimini joining us, of course, covers the Jets for ESPN New York. Let's get back to this dynamic. Let's opine for a moment that Adam Gase does get fired at the end of the year. Are they going to change the structure here, Rich? Because I think that while a lot of teams have this structure where both the GM and owner report to the GM and coach report to the owner, it may not be the best one for the Jets right now.
Yeah, this has been a pet peeve of mine for a while. I've been railing about this since 2015 when they went to this structure. And I agree with you. I'm not a huge fan of it, especially when you have an inexperienced owner. I mean, it's okay if you're the Patriots and you have Robert Kraft, who's been around the league for, 2 or 3 decades, or another team. I'm trying to think of an owner who's heavily involved there. Even the Maras, they've been there for such a long time. But I think when you have an inexperienced owner, you just have to let your football guy be in charge of everything. And I'm curious to see that when the Jets make these changes in the offseason, if that's one of them. If they just say to Joe Douglas, okay, you're going to be in charge of everything. You're going to be over the head coach. Just go out and do your thing. I'm curious to see if they do that.
Rich, not much to read into with the Sam Darnold stuff. I didn't expect him to come out and say, he's playing for his job at this point. Paint the scenario, though, for us. Is there a case where the Jets have the number 1 overall pick, Trevor Lawrence does, in fact, want to play for them, and Sam is still here because they believe in him above all else and they go in another direction with that pick? Can that happen?
Yeah, I don't see that. I mean, if Trevor is in the draft, which we all assume he will be, he's not going back to school. I mean, that's just,
it's either going to be pulling an Eli or playing for the Jets or whoever has to pick.
Right. So, I mean, I thought Joe handled that well today because Sam Darnold could very well be his quarterback next year. I mean, what happens if the Jets win a couple of games and suddenly they're picking 4th? Then you're not going to get one of those top 3 quarterbacks, and Sam Darnold's your guy. And so yeah, he wants to stay in Sam's court. I think he really likes Sam. He likes his upside. In the 2018 draft, when Joe was with Philadelphia, he rated Sam as the top quarterback in that class, ahead of Mayfield, Rosen, Allen, and Jackson. So I do believe he really likes Sam, and I do believe that he feels he's failed him in the sense that he hasn't surrounded him with better players. But the fact of the matter is, there's also the posturing aspect of this. because they could very well be shopping Sam in the offseason. So you want to keep the trade value as high as possible. So of course he's going to say glowing things about him. But like you said, Chris, if they have the first pick and Trevor Lawrence is all in, I can't imagine the Jets passing on Trevor Lawrence. I mean, it economically and football wise, it makes too much sense. You just take the guy.
Rich Cimini with us covering the Jets for ESPN New York. Rich, what's the dynamic right now between the players and Adam Gase?
Is there a dynamic? I don't know. There may be. Look, I give him credit. Look, this is a weird year. So,
yeah.
we're not. I'm not in the locker room every day like I would normally be. I'm on a Zoom call, trying to read the minds of players and doing some digging afterwards. So it's a lot different from being in the building every day and seeing the players. You get a chance to look them in the eye and talk to them privately. But so I don't know what kind of support he has, but I will say this: there was like a little grumbling earlier in the year when a couple of the defensive players questioned the practices. But other than that, there really hasn't been any outward dissension. So I think he's done a pretty good job of keeping the locker room together, as far as we know. So I'll give him credit for that. So I think Douglas mentioned that today. So that's a positive, I guess, if we're stretching for positives.
We unfortunately are in some cases here. I asked a question, though, Rich, and you're right. It is a little unfair given that you can't be in the locker room this year. But I watched the game the other day, and I see Pierre Desir just completely unprepared for the possibility of a fake, which with Andy Reid on 4th and 4 at midfield, and he's running down the field. I understand the talent of the Kansas City Chiefs and the speed, but we all know they're going to run 10 jet sweeps a game. And there are times where they just look completely shocked by it. So that's why I wonder, not from an effort standpoint, but from maybe a mental focus standpoint, if maybe they're not as checked in as they should be.
Well, I mean, on that play especially, I mean, that's an obvious fake situation, and Pierre was just, I think he just brainlocked. He retreated so quickly. I mean, that was an easy pitch and catch for them. So that's just a lapse in concentration, and that could go to coaching for sure. And there were a number of lapses in concentration in the game, on both sides of the ball. So certainly that goes to coaching. That goes to the environment that's set in the locker room. And you don't see good teams making those kind of mistakes. So it's not only a talent issue, it's attention to detail. And right now it's clearly lacking on the Jets.
Rich, before I let you go, it's safe to say at this point, based on what we've seen, that Gase is going to be the coach for the year.
Yeah, I think I was leaning that way even before the press conference today. The natural opening would be after the Monday night game because they have the bye week. So that's, would provide an opening to make a change. But from what I had been hearing even before today, and then certainly based on what Joe said, I don't think, unless something egregious happens on Monday night, but, you never know. But I do think they're going to ride it out with Adam. The Johnson family has never made a change in season. I don't think they want to start now. Look, the die has been cast on this season. It's not going to change. They're in rebuilding mode. I mean, they tore it down. They're going to be playing so many young players over the second half of the season, and Gase knows that. That's what he's going to have to deal with. And so I think they're just prepared to grin and bear it for the rest of the way.
Okay, one more on that. On the younger guys, we all want to see more of Denzel Mims. I think he's looked pretty good in these 2 games. We know about Becton. Who else, Rich, are you anxious to really see get some extended playing time of the younger guys to figure out if they are going to be part of the eventual solution?
Well, I was really eager to see Ashton Davis, and we all saw him on Sunday, and that didn't go too well.
No, it didn't.
He was one of the guys on the jet sweep who looked like he was hypnotized on the first one, and then he just totally stumbled in pass coverage on one of the long touchdowns. He looked out of place, so he'll get another chance to start this week, alongside Marcus May. So I want to see more of him. The guy I really want to see is the guy who will be activated in another week or so is Bryce Hall, the fifth-round pick from Virginia, who was still recovering from his college ankle injury. But he's been practicing for a week or so, and he should be ready to go pretty soon. I think not the New England game, but the game after the bye, he'll be active. And if they could find a corner out of this season, I mean, that would be just such a big help for them in the offseason. I've heard some really good things about Bryce Hall from some scouts I know, and I just like to see him healthy and playing.
Do they believe in Bless Austin here for the long term?
I think he's a guy. He had a couple of coverage pickups. He gave up 2 touchdowns on Sunday. I think he's a really good tackler. He's very physical, so Greg Williams likes that aspect of him. But in terms of pure coverage, I don't know if he's the guy you want as one of your 2 starters long term.
Rich, Godspeed. We're halfway through.
To go, Chris.
In another week until the bye. I mean, I don't even know if you get any downtime during the bye. You can't really do anything with it if you could, but just to you, my friend, I say the bonus is absolutely due for you this year.
Well, we'll see about that, but I've covered these seasons before. I survived 96 and 1-15, so
Well, you might be saying that about this one in another 15 years.
Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
All right, see you, Chris.
Rich Cimini, ESPN New York. I know Joe has to say something similar to what he said, but there's no reason to make Jet fans think for a moment that Gase is the guy that you believe in, even though you can't hire and fire him. That's the biggest problem here. He could have just said, when Rich said, do you think he's part of the solution? We all want to be part of the solution. We all need to figure out a way to do it together. That's what we want to do. That would have been simple enough. And instead, you say a definitive word like yes, and words get parsed perhaps too often. And maybe in this case, but boy, that one to me, did not love hearing that. Did you? 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. It's Carlin with you, with the thoughts wherever you have them. In just a little bit, we will be joined by Buster Olney to talk about all things New York Mets, New York Yankees off season. And there should be some intriguing discussions regarding where both of these teams are headed and how Steve Cohen might be spending the money and who might be running the show. And it is a big name that Buster has got for us in just a few minutes. So, 800-919-3776. That's at the top of the hour. Right now, your calls in just moments. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN.
This is DiPietro Canty.
All right, 4 minutes. I'm going to grab a
Is it worth it? Vision Zero reminds you, slow down.
What up, what up, what up? Lot about Gase tonight. A lot about Joe Douglas's comment about Gase tonight, which was a little bit problematic. I think we could agree. We're going to get to Daniel Jones in just a little bit. You guys are going to want to stay here in just a few minutes. Buster Olney at the top of the hour is absolutely worth seeing. I promise will be well worth your while. He has got a lot to say about the Mets, about big name that could be running the organization, and about the Yankees and where they stand with DJ LeMahieu at this point. So that's all coming as well. So sit tight on the stream. We're getting to you in a minute.
Store them securely and bring any item back when you need it. The best part? Unlike traditional self-storage, you only pay for what you store. No paying for unused storage space. Closet Box
Coming back in 25.
Bonded and insured and will take care of all of the heavy lifting. Closet Box's local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. Closet Box has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for the season
10.
$50 off first month storage using code Radio50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
Mike's hot.
Let's do it. 800-919-3776. You know who's in. Our guy Ira in Staten Island. Ira, did it bug you to hear Joe endorse him today?
Yeah, it was interesting. Good job with you and Rich. I always love listening to Rich. Listen, you got to take it with a grain of salt. I think Douglas held his own. Could he have worded things a little differently? Yes. I like that he took responsibility for Robbie Anderson, but I do think Gase had a part to play in that. I think Gase felt he was a one-dimensional player, which he was wrong. But, you know, with the structure, and you and I have discussed this for months and months and months, you got to remember something. Douglas, even though he's right, I mean, they both report, even if he wanted to say something, if he said anything negative about Gase, he's throwing Chris Johnson under the bus.
Yeah, he is.
Johnson called him.
But again, I'm not asking him, I'm not asking him to say anything negative about Gase. I never expected him to say anything negative about Gase. What I expected him to do was a layoff and out endorsement. There's a way to talk around that, and he didn't do that. I think there was a way to say, because a lot of, to Joe's credit, he was taking the bullets today, okay? But he could have done it one more time by just saying, yeah, listen, we all need to be part of the solution. We all want to be part of the solution. We want to do this together. Not, you believe he's part of the solution? Yes. No. When you're asked that question, it's we all, it's, I mean, I hate to say it because I don't want to, you know, Rich is doing his job there. But I almost, for Joe, am looking out for him at that moment, thinking about how the fans are going to react to hearing that. And the way to do it is kind of reject the premise of the question. You know what I mean? It's like we all want to do it together.
I totally agree, but I think sensible fans will realize that, you know, you have to read between the team needs here. But, you know, just getting with Donald real quickly here, and I know you do a lot of college football. I know Trevor Lawrence is the number one guy, but, you know, Justin Fields, you know, this guy's not that far off. And it's going to be very interesting to see because I hear Kuiper, I hear different people talk, and they say that Justin Fields plays against better competition than Trevor Lawrence has. So
well, it's absolutely a better conference to face, and I'm actually getting to see him in person this weekend. And
are you? Okay, good.
I'm anxious to get a good look at Justin Fields, and thanks for the call, Ira. I think that Fields is a tremendous talent. I don't know that he's Lawrence. I don't necessarily think that he's Lawrence. How about Brandon on Long Island next? Brandon, what's cooking, dude?
Hey, what's going on, Carlin? Thanks for taking the call.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little concerned with Joe Douglas today, saying how he's like in Sam's corner. Is there any shot that if they get the number one pick, they don't trade Lawrence? They don't pick Lawrence? I'm sorry.
No. I think, again, he's never going to call out a player publicly. He's never going to do that. Mm-hmm. And he does like Sam. And frankly, there are 8 games between now and then. Lawrence could come out and say, I don't want to play for the Jets. There are too many things that can happen. And, yeah, Joe also has to think about the fact that he eventually may want to be trading Sam. If in fact, they get the number 1 pick and Lawrence wants to play here.
People are saying that they can get a late first rounder for him. I don't think they can get even a second round for him.
I don't think they can get a second round pick for him. I think that's a 3rd round pick at best,
Yeah,
Brandon.
I agree.
Maybe a 3rd and a 4th or a 3rd and a 5th, but thanks for the call. I don't see where that's definitively going to be a 2nd round pick, let alone a late 1. I think people think you can get a late 1 for Sam right now. I mean, you're high. You are absolutely high if you think that's the case. Lonnie, Long Island. Lonnie, what's up?
Chris Carlin, always great to talk to you. How you doing tonight?
Good, brother. How are you?
Well, I'm disappointed what I heard earlier from Douglas. I just can't believe that they think Gase is a good man for the job.
Well, I think what Joe was saying was trying to be politically correct about it, but he went too far.
He sure did. And Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. If you got a chance to get this once-in-a-lifetime talent, you trade Sam Darnold. Because Sam Darnold, I've seen enough, 3 years. I'm telling you, he's not Trevor Lawrence. Nothing personal. He's just not that guy.
Listen, I don't disagree, and thank you for the call. I think that Sam is a talented quarterback that may excel somewhere else. If you have a chance for Trevor Lawrence and he wants to be here, you don't even think about it twice. In moments, we will discuss the Giants, Daniel Jones, and why you can't give up. That's next. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN. not making a move anytime soon. And frankly, nor should they, because I think at the very least at this point, you ought to ride this out to make sure that Adam Gase is your coach the rest of the year to ensure that you get the number 1 overall pick. I think it was a bad moment where he misspoke, but the real problem with the New York Jets is the structure. The structure.
And 10.
Carlin.
But there's just no way possible that you can say he's part of the solution.
On 98.7 ESPN.
Mike's hot.
Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't say he's part of the solution. 800-919-3776. Boy, I watched the Giants second half last night. Hard to watch the game while you're doing the show and really concentrate. So, I watched the first half last night while I was on the air. And then I watched the second half. And this morning I went back and watched the whole thing again. And I know how much people are screaming about Daniel Jones today. And frankly, they should be. Because Daniel Jones is missing a lot of throws right now. Right here, I have it written down on paper. The number of throws that he missed. 6 throws that he missed. Outside of the interceptions, just deep balls to Shepard, to Slayton, down the sideline. I think he missed one to Golden Tate. And when I say miss, I'm talking about overthrow by a good 4 yards. No loft under the ball. No anything. No real feel for the football. And that was almost more bothersome to me than the interceptions. I mean, the interception at the end of at the beginning of the second half, I don't know what the hell you're doing. Honestly, I just don't. The turnovers, 36 in 21 games. And when you miss big plays downfield, that's where you cannot deal with the turnovers. It was one thing, and it's not all that long ago. When you think about the year 2005 and you think about Eli Manning, year 2, he is on a pretty good team, better than the one that Jones has now, but a pretty good team that ends up going 11-5 and going to the playoffs. And Eli still turned the football over. He still turned it over. But what he didn't do was miss opportunities when they were open. He on occasion it would happen, but it wouldn't happen 4 and 5 times in one game. And that's what was going on last night with Daniel Jones. Now, having said all of that, the Giants are actually losing some games because of Daniel Jones as opposed to not being able to come back and win them with him. He's been in the situation a few times now to have that signature moment, that comeback this year. And each time he has come up short. And even though he scored the touchdown on the 2-point conversion, scream about the officiating all you want. He threw the football way too late. That play had to be bang, bang, and you wouldn't even be talking about the officials being a problem. Of course it was pass interference. Of course it should have stood. That's not the point. The point is the quarterback has to recognize the play a lot quicker. And it makes me think when you miss throws like that, when the ball comes out that late, you're just not seeing things the way you need to and not executing throws the way you need to. But as much as we talk about the growing period, the gestation period of a young quarterback getting smaller and smaller, seemingly as the years go by, they can't give up on Daniel Jones yet. I mean, look, could it be at the end of the year? Could be. Could be. Because you're going to have a new GM in here, and Daniel Jones was the guy that, frankly, was going to save Dave Gettleman's job. If he had shown true growth this season, and looked like he was headed to being the franchise quarterback. And at the same time, the Giants were winning 5-6 games as opposed to 1 so far. Then you would be really talking about Gettleman keeping his job because he had one job, and that was to get the quarterback. Right now, it's too soon. End of year 2. If the play in the second half of the year is equal to or worse than the first half of the year, see you later. Well, that was an awful whistle. I can't do it all of a sudden. Maybe my lips got too fat. I don't know. I used to be able to do. It really is. Anyway, you get the point. Adios. That was the point. So now that he's not there and winning games, but instead there and losing games for the Giants, I don't know how you defend it much longer. I'm not giving up yet, but it's not much longer that you can ride this out. Dempsey in the Bronx has been very patient, and he is next on 98.7 ESPN. Dempsey, how you doing?
I'm good, Carlin. Thank you for taking my call. How are you this evening?
I'm good. What do you got for me?
Okay. Well, I completely agree with you on that last point. It was definitely Daniel Jones's reason why we lost that game. He's the main culprit. But you look at other weeks, he definitely did enough in the Cowboys game to win that game. It was Ingram's fault for dropping that. You know what I mean?
Well, the Ingram drop was the Eagles game, yeah. But I know what you're saying.
The Eagles game, not the Cowboys game. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But yeah, he does. I see more often than not him doing enough to win, and the team's not good enough. But if you look at objectively for the way the team has played this first 8 games, you take the quarterback out of it. You look at coaching, you look at the whole team, you look at how they played, and the rest of the schedule. This team looks like it could go 4-4. Am I right? Do you agree on that?
I mean,
4-4 capable. They have games against the Cowboys, the Redskins, the Bengals.
Yeah, but I don't know what to consider when they're losing these games the way they are. Like, they should have more wins, so I don't know what they are capable of and what they're not capable of, frankly.
Yeah, I'm just saying, take the quarterback situation out of it. Just pretend no Daniel Jones. We'll just put quarterback Q, quarterback X. You look at this team, in my opinion, I see them capable of going 4-4 in the second half. I also see them capable of going 1-7 again and being back in that position where we're going to be a top 3 pick. I personally believe Daniel Jones is going to right the ship and go 4-4 or 3-5 and make a lot of a difference. But again, if they don't, and they're in the same position they were in the first half, there is absolutely no doubt you have to go for a new quarterback or Justin Fields. We're no way we're getting Trevor Lawrence because that is guaranteed to go to the Jets. But you would have to seriously consider moving on, and I would agree with it.
Yeah, look, the thing about it is, though, if the Jets actually win a game and the Giants don't, the Giants' winning percentage, opponent winning percentage, is much worse than the Jets. So don't.
Yeah, but I'd bet anything under the sun that the Jets are not going to win a game this year, and I'm almost positive that the Giants are going to win at least one more. They got the Redskins, they got the Cowboys, they got the Bengals. That defense is playing better and better every week. They're going to run into a win or two this year. There's no way they're going 1-15. At minimum, they're going 3-13.
Appreciate the call, Dempsey. Thanks for checking in, brother. They may go 3-13. That's fine, but I think at the same time, you have to remember that the Giants are, you might sit there and think they're a better team than they actually are, but the quarterback is a lot to do with how good they are. And when he's now actively losing games like last night, that's a problem. That makes you worse. Thank you, Captain Obvious. More calls on Jones next. 800-919-3776. Carlin, 98.7 ESPN. Plus, who is the big name that the Mets could be targeting to run their franchise? We will hear that from Buster Olney in just moments. Right here, 98.7 ESPN.
Mike's hot.
Huey, St. Louis. What up, brother?
Carlin, how are you, buddy?
I'm outstanding, dude. How are you?
I am well, man. Hey, before I get to the Giants, I'm so happy the Stevie Cohen stuff worked out, and I love how he's engaged with the fans and how to make the experience better. He's not asking, hey, should I sign Springer? Should I sign Real Muto? I love the responses the fans are giving to him. It is very exciting.
Yeah,
and,
listen.
I'm looking forward to hearing the Buster thing later on, too.
Yeah, that's coming in just a few minutes, and we're going to get into the stuff with Cohen, what he expects, all that kind of stuff. And specifically, who's going to be running the show. And there's Buster promises going to be throwing out a big name that could be coming to the Mets that I think would be a massive score if they could get him. That'll be good.
Ask him, too, about Rojas. I'm really interested in if Rojas is going to stay around or not.
Yeah, I will try to get into it with him. I think that Rojas is kind of the lesser concern at the moment because – remember that Rojas was here for a long time while Sandy was here.
With Sandy,
yeah.
Right.
So I think he's got an excellent chance. I think Rojas, off of a 60-game season, I doubt they're going to fire Rojas.
I figure he's got a 50-50 shot of coming back, maybe better.
I think it's a little bit better than that.
Yeah. So with the Giants, real quick, this is where Jones is frustrating and tantalizing at the same time. You look at the pass he threw to Tate. On the touchdown, and that was a beautifully thrown ball, and then he waited a split second too long on the 2-point conversion.
I can't get over how bad some of these throws are.
Yeah, the 2 interceptions were mind-boggling because if you take one of those back, they win the game. And also, the sack he took at the end of the first half, you could have gotten 3 out of that, and that would have been the difference in the game also.
You've got that, but you've got like 3 bombs that he threw and overthrew by a good 5-6 yards.
And the other 2 times that Slayton was open, he didn't see him, which that's another thing. But if you look at the Giants, they have not played a complete game yet this year, right? I think we could agree on that.
I think we could agree on that, absolutely.
Yeah. Offense, defense, they haven't played a complete game yet. I actually love what Joe Judge is doing, despite the fact that they're sitting here at 1-7 right now. I think he's the right guy in the chair there. I still believe Jones is the right guy. I remember all the stuff about Eli year 2. And there's enough flashes with Jones. I don't see Dave Brown here. I really don't. And if I see Dave Brown again, I'll probably start crying. But
I know, and thanks for the call, Huey. I don't think it's Dave Brown either, but I don't think it's anything to get excited about. He's still turning the football over too much. He's got 8 games in my mind. He's got 8 games to show he can be the guy and not actively lose games like he was doing last night. Daniel Jones lost a game for the Giants last night. That happened. Anthony's in Stony Brook. He's next. Anthony, what's going on?
Hey, what's going on, man? I hope it's not too late, but I just wanted to touch on the Joe Douglas press conference really quick.
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, I'm a big Jets fan. I've been a diehard Jets fan for a while, and it's just a little frustrating because I think Joe Douglas actually had a brilliant press conference, just the way that the media is with the Jets. Because if he said anything negative about Adam Gase, it was going to be on the back page for the next couple of days.
But do you think that this is not going to be on the back page for the next couple of days?
Oh, absolutely. But
here's the point. Here's where you could have avoided all of it. If you just sat there and said, we're all trying to fix this together and not say he's part of the solution. We all want to be part of the solution. If you give that answer as opposed to just flat out yes, then it makes you look like, yeah, okay, don't worry about it. Down the line, the right things will happen here. But Joe does not have hiring and firing power over Gase, and that's the bigger problem with the Jets right now is that structure.
Oh, I agree with that. But like I said with the media, is just I'd rather the media saying, I can't believe he's going to keep this guy rather than every single week. Cause there's a good chance we lose every game. Oh, is it this week Gase is going to be fired? Or is it going to be this week?
I don't think that's going to happen anymore. That really hasn't been happening with the media as much for Gase lately.
Yeah,
I thought it could have happened a few weeks ago.
Right, and after we got over that bump, it wasn't as much. But I personally,
right. And
I like Douglas,
the only other time it would have happened would have been the bye this coming week.
Right, absolutely. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, if I could just wrap up on this, I'm the diehard Jets fan. I just think as long as our owner stays in place, I don't think we're going to be going anywhere as much as I like Douglas. But at the end of the day, as long as the Johnsons are still running the operation.
The owners, the Johnsons aren't going anywhere. They just have to let the
exactly.
football people do their thing, Anthony.
Yep.
And thanks for the call. They have to let Joe do his thing, hire the coach, and have a power structure where it's going to work for everyone. Like this power structure, we see it in other places around the league. That doesn't mean it works here. Christopher Johnson is a very inexperienced owner. And I'm not saying he's a bad owner. He's inexperienced when it comes to football. And the best thing you can do when that's the case is let the football people do the job. That's when you're the good owner. When you're smart enough to know we have to let the guys who really have lived and died this for their entire careers and have 20 years of experience behind them just go do the job. And that's what he's got to do with Joe Douglas here. That's absolutely what he has to do. Let's hit Dale in Queens next. Dale, what do you got, dude?
Hi, Chris. Good at calling again, man. This is the second time calling, and I always enjoy your show each and every time, brother.
Thanks for checking in, man. Appreciate that.
Sorry to go back onto the Jets point about Joe Douglas.
Go.
Yeah, I know. He said Gase is part of the solution, and Darnold's the quarterback of the future.
He's never going to knock Darnold, okay? There's a lot of time between now and the beginning and draft time. And whether or not you're going to have the first, he's never going to say a negative word about Darnold.
Yeah, I think Darnold's. I mean, on the flip side, I think Darnold's out of town. As soon as he gets that number one pick in front of him, I think Darnold's out. I think he's definitely going to be out.
Well, if he gets the number one pick and he knows that Trevor Lawrence wants to play for the Jets, then they're going to end up trading Darnold away.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. And they're not going to be getting. You got to get this out of your heads, folks. You're not getting a late first-round pick or a second-round pick for Darnold. You're getting a third pick and maybe a fifth. You know, it's something like that.
Certainly.
You don't sound happy about that.
No, because Joe Douglas, he knows that Darnold is not his quarterback, and plus, he would definitely go along with like blowing up the whole thing to accommodate Trevor Lawrence. I can't see Gase there another year.
Gase is not going to be there. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about that. Look, he said what he said today, and thanks for the call, Dale. I think it was a mistake to say it because it makes it look like he's endorsing it. But, Gase is not going to be the coach next season. He can't be. He can't be the coach next season. He can't be. Not in any universe can he be the coach next season. So who is the big name the Mets are kicking around as a possibility to be running their organization? And where do the Yankees stand right now with DJ LeMahieu? Are they going to not necessarily give him 4 years and $100 million? Buster Olney joins us next and answers it all on Carlin, 98.7 ESPN.
It has been a
The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. It's a new. The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. It's a new world for the New York Mets with a new owner. All right, we have returned with Buster Olney, giving us great insight on the Yankees and the Mets. Let's turn to the Mets right now here, Buster. First of all, who's going to be making the decisions here for Steve Cohen? We've heard all about Sandy Alderson's involvement, but it's not. The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. It's a new world for the New York Mets with a new owner, and the Yankees are always going to be interesting. The guy who knows it all is Buster Olney, who joins us right now. And Buster, you're writing about this today. The idea that for most free agents, this could be an offseason of cold. Not exactly what they want to hear going right into it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a brutal off season for most free agents. I was talking with an agent today about the situation, and he said, going into the last week, his feeling was just watch what happens with Brad Hand, who he felt like was going to be a barometer for what's to come. You're talking about, an all-star reliever for the Cleveland Indians 3 times over, just came off a terrific season. The Indians had an option to keep him for 2021 at $10 million on a 1-year contract. And they decided, you know what, that's too rich for us. They tried to trade him. They called around all other teams. There were no takers. They put him on waivers. Any team could have taken him for like $50,000 with that contract. No one took him. So we've gone from a situation where you see relievers getting up to $75 million like Aroldis Chapman to a point now where all-star relievers on a 1-year contract for $10 million is too rich for the market. That is a real sign about where we're going to go with free agents this year in a season of coronavirus.
All right, Buster, let's start with the Yankees because that's a little bit more of the known. They exercised the option on Zach Britton to bring him back. But what seems to be unclear a little bit is exactly how far they're going to be willing to go with DJ LeMahieu. What's your early read on the situation?
It was interesting. There was some speculation as we got near the end of the regular season, LeMahieu might get something in the range of 4 years and $25 million a year. And I can tell you both agents and club officials were like, no. That's not where this market's going. LeMahieu is a very respected player. He's versatile. You're talking about someone who in 2020 had more extra base hits than he had strikeouts. And the Yankees absolutely love him for his leadership. But I think this winter it's going to be tough for anyone to get really, really big dollars unless your name is Trevor Bauer or JT Realmuto. And so I suspect that, the Yankees will be doing a lot of haggling with DJ LeMahieu. I do think if they're in the ballpark that he'll stay. He's made that pretty clear that he wants to remain with the Yankees. They just have to bid within the a scope where they can be competitive.
Is the sticking point going to be 3 versus 4 years?
I think that's part of it. We've seen some teams, for example, like the Blue Jays, like the Mets, potentially the San Francisco Giants, who could be more aggressive than, what Yankees and some other clubs might be. But I think you hit it right on the head in terms of where the tipping point is.
Buster, this seems so illogical in so many ways when it comes to the Yankees. And I understand how much that they lost more than anybody else this past year. But you're talking about somebody that 2 years in a row was very much in the forefront of the MVP conversation on a star-studded team. And in 2019, basically kept them afloat when everybody else was down. And he's 31 years old. He doesn't look like somebody that it's all going to fall apart for. And the versatility, like I could run down the resume here, and this guy in every way feels like the perfect Yankee, which to me it makes it all the more crazy that you're going to get into a haggling with this one guy in particular. It's not just hand him everything he wants, but you understand what I'm saying here. Like 4 years to me, I don't think LeMahieu is going to fall off a cliff at 35.
No. And as I mentioned, I mean, they value him so much. I love Zach Britton's story about when DJ comes into the clubhouse every day. Some players might go and get something to eat. Some might check their phone. Some might check their iPad. The first thing DJ does every time he walks into the clubhouse is to pull on his cap and as if he's ready to go. He's like the kid who walks to school in his Little League uniform because he just wants to play. And there's a lot of value in that. I think the reason why the Yankees are going to approach this the way they are going to, and I think a lot of teams are going to do this, is that there's just going to be so many stinking free agents and so many opportunities to buy elsewhere. They want to make sure that they don't overpay relative to the market. As I mentioned, the prices are going to come way down, and I think the Yankees are leery of vastly overpaying in a winter in which a lot of prime free agents are not going to get a lot of money.
Buster Olney with us, of course, ESPN's MLB insider. You do, it sounds like, though, expect that he would be back.
That would be my guess, yeah, because as I say, the Yankees value him. And one thing when we talk about, potential bidders, because there's been speculation already about, maybe the Mets, maybe the Toronto Blue Jays, they're just not going to be that many teams that spend money this winter. So it's not like the Yankees are facing a lot of competition. I think they have such respect and understanding about what LeMahieu means to the team that if, in fact, he gets a good offer from the team like the Blue Jays, I think the Yankees will step up and say, well, that's the market price, and let's make it happen.
What else catches your eye as the interesting stories now with the Yankees this offseason?
I think for sure, how they're going to round out their rotation. They don't have a lot of money to spend. They're going to bring their payroll down like most of the teams in baseball because, as Hal Steinbrenner told Michael Kay, nobody knows when fans are going to be filling the stands again. No one knows when there's going to be a vaccine. And so I think they're going to be conservative, which is why I think it's important to look at guys who are going to be getting the best pitchers on one-year deals. And a guy that absolutely jumps out, I think not only for the Yankees, but I think also for the Mets and some other teams, is Charlie Morton, who just last week was in a situation where the Tampa Bay Rays decided that they didn't want to pick up his option for 1 year and $15 million because their anticipation is that number is going to come down. He's older. He's going to pitch next year at age 37, but he has a ton of experience, and he's been terrific in the postseason in recent years. I personally think he would be a great complement to Garrett Cole in that rotation, and it'll be interesting to see how far the Yankees might take a run at, and how far they go in taking a run at him.
And we know how important it was. He talked about it extensively about being home in Tampa last year, and it even came out a little bit this week. Is that more at this point playing a little bit of chicken on what his decision's going to be? In other words, you have to make it worth it for me to go ahead and pitch again.
That's exactly right. I mean, he pitched. He went to the Rays for a reason, and he is going to have a lot of options because he's only going to have a one-year contract. From what I understand, there's been a ton of interest in him. If you're any team on the Eastern Seaboard and you know that Charlie wants to stay relatively close to his Florida home, then you're going to give him a one-year offer. So I'm sure he's going to hear from the Nationals. I'm sure he's going to hear from the Phillies, from the Red Sox, and a bunch of teams to try to get better. And it'd be interesting to see how he distinguishes himself. The one thing I've wondered about with the Yankees is, does having Garrett Cole give them any kind of a leg up as a former teammate of Charlie's?
What's the future hold for Gary Sanchez?
Boy, I think he's going to go into next year on double secret probation. I think they're going to give it one more run, but they have to figure out, above all else, what happened to that guy who was a 270, 280 consistent hitter. The guy who, when you talked to Aaron Boone a few years ago, as he took over as manager, he felt like at that time that Sanchez was the best hitter on the team. And what we've seen the last couple of years is someone who has struggled to make adjustments and in big sample sizes has struggled to make contact. I think the defense is always going to be what it is. I think the Yankees, obviously love his power, but they need to try to figure out what happened to that guy who's going to be a consistent contributor in the lineup.
What do you anticipate here with the ability to maybe cash in a little bit early on a guy like Luke Voit and potentially trade him away as an attractive player to somebody, given He's not getting paid yet, that kind of thing. Are there players here that you might anticipate the Yankees would be trading away right now to try to sell high on?
Well, it's possible that they would look at that, but a couple things about that, and that's been interesting to see that speculation. I think one thing to remember is when we talk about, the Yankees trading away a player who's been productive like Voit, we have to remember Aaron Judge has gotten hurt constantly, and Giancarlo Stanton has gotten hurt constantly, and the Yankees have been searching for depth. And the other thing too is that I really think that high volume of free agents that I'm talking about is going to work against teams that are going to try to trade players that they consider to have value, because teams can just look at someone like Luke Voit and say, yeah, we like Luke Voit, but you know what? Nelson Cruz is a free agent. And Michael Brantley is a free agent, and Marcell Ozuna is a free agent. There are just so many alternatives that I think it's going to be difficult for the Yankees to get maybe the type of trade value that they want, because all teams are going to have so many choices. Shoot, we're starting out with more than 200 free agents now, and there's an expectation that there's going to be a massive number of players who are just simply not tendered contract, players who are eligible for arbitration.
All right, this is a crazy one. Last one on the Yankees. It sounds like from what you're saying about Voit, it's probably not the case. But they're going to be faced with a decision here on Aaron Judge in the relatively near future. How does this play out, Buster? Is this something that they may look to move on from him sooner rather than later, considering they have Stanton already and they're not getting out of that contract anytime soon?
No, I think it's just going to come down to a hard financial decision, and a lot of that is going to be dependent on how often he stays on the field. Let's face it. I mean, you and I have seen a lot of cases where guys have struggled as they get closer to their free agency, and then right before they hit that market, they have that one huge year. That's what Aaron Judge needs right now. If they see another year where he struggles to stay on the field, I absolutely believe the Yankees are going to put their focus elsewhere. And we have to keep in mind that a year from now, it's going to be the most extraordinary crop of free agent shortstops in the history of baseball. And that is something that if you're the Yankees, you're going to have to take a serious look at. I think this winter, there's going to be a lot of talk with teams about Francisco Lindor. Carlos Correa is a free agent next fall, and he was coming off a terrific season. Corey Seager this year put together a lot of discipline. So if you're the Yankees and you don't see what you want to see out of Judge, mostly that is staying on the field, I think absolutely you're going to be open-minded to alternatives if you're going to be willing to pay somebody a big contract.
Okay, in a minute, we'll hit the Mets with Buster. Stay with us, Buster only with us here on 98.7 ESPN. The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. It's a new world for the New York Mets with a The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. The baseball offseason has begun. The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. It's a new world for the New York Mets with a new owner, and the Yankees are always going to be
baseball, and given the fact that Steve Cohen clearly has demonstrated that.
All right, we have returned with Buster Olney, giving us great insight on the Yankees and the Mets. Let's turn to the Mets right now here, Buster. First of all, who's going to be making the decisions here for Steve Cohen? We've heard all about Sandy Alderson's involvement, but it's not like there is a personnel team in place ready to go, even though free agency has begun.
Yeah, and Sandy, of course, knows a ton of people from his time in baseball, and given the fact that Steve Cohen clearly has demonstrated that he's willing to essentially give Sandy a blank check to make the organization better, they should come out of this with extraordinary infrastructure, in part because you've noticed all the layoffs around baseball. There are so many talented front office people that I fully expect that the Mets are going to walk away with a player scouting and development bonanza in terms of the people they bring in. One big name I think it's important to keep an eye on, Chris Antonetti of the Cleveland Indians.
Wow.
This is someone who's been with Cleveland for a long time. He's been extraordinary. He's viewed as, I think if you were to have a poll among all baseball executives about who the best in baseball is, Chris would either finish first or second or third. And every year we see these raids on the Indians organization because their front office has been so extraordinary. And if you look at where the Indians are, they are going to take a big step back in payroll. They're going to struggle probably as much as any team from the effects of the coronavirus. They got to trade Francisco Lindor in all likelihood the next year. Chris Antonetti, this might be a point where if you're the Mets, you are calling him up to say, you know what, we want to give you a big market opportunity. It'd be interesting to see what he would say.
Is the mentality here, Buster, right out of the gate, just going to be open up the checkbook as far as free agents and players and all that stuff to try to get the Mets over the top quickly? Or is, Steve Cohen, a guy who has made $14 billion, not by accident, going to slow play this a little bit at the beginning to get more of a feel for how this is going to play out?
Now, I think that if you're a Met fan and you're thinking you're going to walk away with Real Muto and George Springer and Trevor Bauer, you might want to hold your skis a little bit. But I do think this. I do think he's going to spend, and I think he's going to spend aggressively. It just may be more measured. For example, knuckleheads like me have been speculating on whether or not they would get involved with JT in a bidding war against the Phillies. The catching market's pretty flush, so if they target somebody like James McCann, maybe that would make more sense. I think the focus is going to be on pitching. We've already got, the first sign of Steve Cohen's money manifesting with a decision to give a qualifying offer to Marcus Stroman. People around baseball absolutely believe that Stroman almost can't turn that down because he's not going to be able to replicate, an offer like that. And so it might be he's back with their rotation. Then maybe they're taking a look at Trevor Bauer. Among the agents and executives I've spoken with, and we speculate on where these guys are going to wind up, I'm hearing the Mets and Bauer a lot is a potential match. With Jacob deGrom at 32, you're going to want to augment the rotation. And you and I talked about whether or not the Mets would take a shot at someone like Charlie Morton. I think that's going to be the focus. And I do think that they will land one prime position player, George Springer, because he went to UConn. He's from the area. He's postseason proven, and he's such a phenomenal athlete. Even though he's north of 30, I think he's someone they'd do well to invest in.
He feels like just too good of a fit in so many ways, especially being a center fielder. I want to go back to Stroman for 1 second, though. You mentioned that people around the game feel like he can't turn it down. Were people surprised that the Mets gave him the qualifying offer?
100%.
Yeah.
They were shocked. For someone who didn't pitch at all in 2020, who is generally viewed, it's interesting when you talk to evaluators, they kind of view Marcus as being like a number 3, number 4 type starter. Those type of guys, especially this winter, are not going to be making $18.9 million, which is what the qualifying offer was. But as they say, this to me, is like the first manifestation of Steve Cohen's money, where he can look at a decision like that, unlike the Wilpons, and go, sure, go ahead, give him the qualifying offer. If he stays, we get a good pitcher to round out our rotation on a one-year deal, and if he turns us down, we get a draft pick. That's not something the Wilpons would have done.
Buster Olney with us. Simply, what kind of owner do you expect Steve Cohen to be from trying to learn about him over the last few months? Not in terms of spending money, but a guy that's going to be heavily involved, a guy that's going to let his people do their work. What are you expecting from him, I guess, from a personality standpoint?
I think he's going to be heavily involved. I think he's going to be front and center. We've already gotten signs of that, the way that he's using his Twitter account. And let's face it, he understands that he's coming in as the hero to Mets fans. And given the fact that he's got a lot of payroll flexibility and he truly is a fan, because you and I have met owners through the years, and you walk away and you're like, man, that guy doesn't really like baseball that much. Steve is a baseball guy. Like, he loves it. And I think he's going to want to win. Now, there are risks that come with that, as we knew from George Steinbrenner. When you have an owner who's visible and heavily involved, they can set themselves up for criticism. But what I've gotten a lot of feedback on are people who've said that, Steve, while he may be the guy who, pushes a decision over the finish line, especially the big money decisions, he will defer to the people that he hires to do the right things. And I speculated on Chris Antonetti, and that's all it is, speculation at this point. But if you get a Chris Antonetti in your organization, you just turn it over him and you just sit back in your private box and enjoy what you're going to see.
And it sounds like with Sandy, it's Sandy, come in and set up what we need. And you know this organization, where it's been and what they haven't been able to do. Is that a fair way of assessing it?
Absolutely. And I, as I say, with the combination of how soft the free agent market's going to be, all the people who've been laid off by teams in player development and scouting, I think there's a tremendous opportunity, much in the same way if, someone who had a ton of money walked into a bad real estate market, you can clean up. And I should mention this about the Mets. An absolutely natural fit for them would be Francisco Lindor. And they've got the guys to get a deal done. This is an all-star shortstop who is got one more year until he becomes a free agent. But as a couple of agents have pointed out to me, the situation with Lindor probably is going to play out the way that Mookie Betts' situation did, where the team trades him and then he signs a long-term contract. And if that's, what the Mets could be looking at, boy, you talk about a game changer in New York. It would be the Mets that would land Francisco Lindor rather than the Yankees.
And you see, last one on this, Buster, you see, I've heard a lot about this the last few days, that it might be more for teams about just getting rid of the contracts than about what they have to get in return. You said they have the guys to get them if they want. What does that look like? Or is it just more about taking that 17, 18 million that he's making this year?
Yeah. Well, think about the deal that the Red Sox made with the Dodgers for Mookie Betts. It would be along those lines. Alex Verdugo's he's a really good prospect. He's not an A+. He was not considered to be an A++ prospect. He's a really good player for the Red Sox. The other two guys they got in the deal are good prospects. It doesn't take, with a player just a year from free agency, it's not going to cost the Mets their entire farm system. So I think that's why it makes it more possible. And look, I really believe that if we hadn't had the coronavirus season, that the Indians may well have traded Lindor during the summertime. But now they're getting to the point where they have to move him if they're going to get value in return, which is what they do historically. And the Mets are one of the teams that not only is in a position to give up young players to make that happen, but also has apparently the freedom in cash to go and sign someone like Lindor to a long-term deal. And it might take $250 to $300 million.
Buster, you are living that Belichick life. No days off. Appreciate it so much. Thanks for being generous with your time.
Thanks, Chris. I always love talking with you.
Absolutely. Chance of getting excited again, of, having somebody in place who really knows the ins and outs and now actually has resources to work with. I mean, look at what the Indians have done without resources so far. Resources. Well, right about now seems as good a time as any. You know, we've all been a little distracted with a lot going on in the world today. And if you're hanging with me at the moment, you're probably looking to be distracted, because that's what I do. It's been a while. As you know, I was on a bit of a different schedule throughout the course of the summer, filling in here and there. And then we had baseball playoffs, NBA playoffs. Couldn't really get to what we wanted to get to, could we? You know what that is? A little thing around these parts that we call Beat the Fat Man. If you know your television trivia, right now would be the time to start dialing at 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN to take me on. Me of the nearly 75% winning percentage. Tonight is the last night I get the privilege of working with Nikki Hartman. And in just moments, she is going to host this first edition back in quite some time of Beat the Fat Man. So get on the phones right now, and we will do it in moments at 800-919-3776. Bring it on, punk. The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. It's a new world for the New York Mets with a new owner, and the Yankees are 0.
Can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. Remember, 1-866-929-1950. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes for preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
It's the Michael K. Show's 20 in 20. 20 great prizes over 20 days. Going on now. WEPN FM, New York.
Good evening, I'm Steve Lennox. Wisconsin Badgers a win against Illinois in their season opener. Now cancellations against Nebraska and Purdue. Purdue, Wisconsin.
Coming back at 03:30.
Now a total of 27 active coronavirus cases. Wisconsin AD Barry Alvarez today on if he sees his football.
The baseball offseason has begun. Free agent. All right, we have returned with Buster Olney, giving us great insight on the Yankees and the Mets. Let's turn to the Mets right now here, Buster. First of all, who's going to be making the decisions here for Steve Cohen? We've heard all about Sandy Alderson's involvement, but it's not like there is...
Ready to make his Buccaneers debut Sunday against the Saints after he was activated off the NFL suspended list. Dolphins today trading receiver Isaiah Ford to the Patriots. Dolphins also acquiring running back DeAndre Washington from the Chiefs. Broncos tight end Jake Butt placed on injured reserve with a hamstring injury. Tennessee Titans today releasing Jonathan Joseph. Team also expected to release Vic Beasley. That cut is going to come on Wednesday.
We're back on Wednesday, and the Pac-12 is back this weekend. I will tell you why the Pac-12 matters to college football playoff race, and we'll talk to the quarterback of the USC Trojans, Keaton Slovis, Wednesday on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to Chris Carlin on 98.7 ESPN.
You know, I watched the first half last night while I was on the air, and I watched the second half. And this morning I went back and watched the whole thing again. And I know how much people are screaming about Daniel Jones today. And frankly, they should be. Because Daniel Jones is missing a lot of throws.
1 minute.
Right here. I have it written down. On paper. The number of throws that he missed. Six throws that he missed. Outside of the interceptions, just deep balls to Shepard, to Slayton, down the sideline. I think he missed one to Golden Tate. And when I say miss, I'm talking about overthrow by a good 4 yards. No loft under the ball. No anything. No real feel for the football. If the play in the second half of the year is equal to or worse than the first half of the year, see you later. Well, that was an awful whistle.
You're listening to Chris Carlin.
I can't do it all of a sudden. Maybe my lips got too fat. I don't know.
On 98.7 ESPN.
Mike's hot.
My lips did get too fat. Maybe that's possible. 800-919-3776. It is time in just a moment to try to beat the fat man, and that is me. We have not done it in quite some time. If you know your television trivia, you have an opportunity to take me on. The prize, inconsequential. Prize doesn't matter. Your prize is pride and a momentary feeling of superiority over this. This portion of Carlin on 98.7 ESPN is brought to you by the New Jersey Lottery. A $137 million Powerball jackpot means you could buy the rarest luxury cars for yourself and your friends. They don't even have to like luxury cars. You could just have that many millions. Take a chance on Powerball. Anything can happen in New Jersey. Are you ready? Nikki Hartman, our final evening working together. Thoughts, comments, emotions, lay them on the table.
I think that sums it up, right?
Yeah, that pretty much does.
All right, cool. I'm glad you understand me
I do.
after all this time.
I do. I get you. You've always gotten me, and I appreciate all of your help over the last year here on 98.7 ESPN. But listen, you're on to better things, and I'm excited for you.
Well, it's been a pleasure to work with you. I've learned so much from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Well, tonight, Nikki, you get to send me off in style by hosting Beat the Fat Man. So shall we speak with our first contestant?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Sean in New Jersey is up for Beat the Fat Man. Hello, Sean.
How you doing?
I'm good. Think you know your stuff, Sean?
Pretty much.
Wow. Way to really sell the confidence there, Sean.
I've watched a lot of different shows, so I think I'm pretty good at it.
Okay. How old a person are you, Sean?
37.
Okay. So I might have an advantage in the 80s, but maybe not. What would you say is your all-time favorite show?
All-time favorite show? Probably have to go with sitcoms from the 90s. Watched a lot of Saved by the Bell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Full House, stuff like that.
I understand. Well, Sean, I got to tell you, don't love your chances. However, you have earned this opportunity simply by, calling in. Nikki Hartman, hit the music.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name. They're calling again. If you know who shot Mr. Burns and what planet Alf comes from and who was on a break, then you might be able to beat the Fat Man.
You might be able to. I have to admit, I haven't watched much television of late. Been watching a lot of Los Deportes. So let's see if you have an opportunity. Nikki Hot Take, please explain the rules.
All right, so I'm going to present each of you with 3 questions. 1 each from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s television, and you'll have 10 seconds to answer the question. Whoever answers the most questions correctly is our winner. If the score is tied after 3 rounds, we'll go to an overtime, and that's where the first one to win a round will be declared our winner. Our contestant will get the question first, and during that time, Chris will be placed in isolation until our contestant completes the round. So we can't hear the question or the answer, it's just us.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Wait, what else are you doing? Are you loading up a truck? What are you doing?
I drive a tractor trailer.
Okay, and you're doing that in the middle of this. Wow, you're multiplying. You're not multiplying, you're multitasking. Let's see if you can get this done. Nikki, send me into the isolation booth. All right, I can still hear everything. Kill it.
Sean, you there?
I'm here.
And Nikki,
All right,
I can
awesome.
still
Just
hear
you
you,
and
to be
I
clear.
now.
Nikki, I can
What
still
was
hear
the
you.
original name
Hello,
of
Nikki.
the dog Fraser
Nikki.
gave to Sam
Oh,
on
no,
Cheers?
no,
We're
no,
starting
no.
with a question from the 80s.
No. No, I can hear you.
What was the original name of the dog Fraser gave to Sam on Cheers?
I can hear the question. This is not good.
All right, our correct answer was Pavlov. So we're going to bring Chris back now. Hey, Chris?
Nikki, I unfortunately heard the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
I heard the whole thing, so I think we have to give Sean a break and start him again.
All right, we'll grab you another question.
And if it makes you feel any better, Sean, I was going to get it right anyway.
I've got a plethora
I'm sure you were.
Yes. So let's see. I was screaming, no. Oh, no. Oh. All right.
Round 2 at round 1.
Round 1. I still hear everything.
All right, I'm sending you away now, Chris.
Okay.
Go.
Now I can't hear anything. Okay. So this is round 1. For those watching, hopefully we can get this victory tonight. Little rusty. Little bit rusty. I could have just said I didn't hear it, but you guys heard it, so, not going to cheat, at least overtly.
All right, Chris.
Hi.
All right. You ready? You didn't hear that one, did you?
I did not hear that one.
Lovely.
I was talking to my friends who are on a live stream right now. But anyway,
Marvelous.
go ahead.
All right. So for the 80s, on Who's the Boss? Tony's daughter was played by Alyssa Milano. What was her character's name?
Let's see. Samantha.
Do you have a last name?
Misselli.
That is correct.
Come on. Come on.
Sean got Sam, but you got the full name. He couldn't think of the last name. So that one does go to you, Chris.
Sorry, Sean. Sorry. Next question.
All right, Chris, I'm going to send you back into your isolation booth.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's one. Actually, if I was going to pronounce it correctly, like Tony Danza would, Samantha. Come on. Bring me something.
Hey, Chris?
Yes.
All right, for the 90s, on the TV show Martin, who are Martin's two best friends?
Oh.
On the TV show Martin,
Yeah.
who are Martin's two best friends?
I didn't watch it a ton. I don't know.
All right, so unfortunately, neither of you got that. We were looking for Tommy and Cole.
I should have known Tommy Davidson, right? Because Tommy Davidson was the actor. Tommy and Cole. I should have known that. Even though I didn't watch it a lot, I still should have known that. Anyway.
All right, we've got
on to
one
round
question
3.
left. Chris is up 1. Sean, you need this one if we want to tie it up. So, Chris,
Yes.
bye-bye.
Okay. Well. I need a convincing win here. I need a solid 2-0 win here. I feel good about it. 1-0 will be a win, but it wouldn't be a win. You know?
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
All right. For 2000s, when John Ritter passed away during filming of 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, writers brought on what comedian as Katie Seagal's nephew?
Oh, David Spade.
That is correct.
Yeah! Oh, yeah! That's right.
Excellent job, Chris. You got that. That means you won 2-0.
The original Kaylee Cuoco vehicle, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Before she went on to that witches show with Alyssa Milano. I forget who that was. Anyway, whatever. I win. You lose. Bye, Sean.
Good job, Chris.
Thank you. All right. Little bumpy. We got there, though, and I feel good. Nikki, how you feel?
I'm feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling like maybe we should take another crack at this when we come back.
I think that's a spectacular idea.
Brian in Flemington will be up next. Brian, sit tight. You will get your chance to try to beat the fat man in just moments on 98.7 ESPN.
The Michael K. Show is on.
Sam Darnold. Is it fair for somebody to say, I don't know how good Sam Darnold is?
Honestly, guys.
All right, so 4 minutes.
And do it to the best of my ability. That's all I know how to do, and whatever anyone else says, I'm just going to continue to do my job and control what I can and continue to try to lead this team and get a win. That's all I really care about.
Don't miss the Michael K. Show, weekdays at 3 on 98.7 ESPN.
Reach for more and spread your wings. With Yingling Traditional Lager, the bold amber color, nearly 190 years in the making, all American brew. Brewed for good times and filled with roasted caramel malts for a subtle sweetness and well-balanced taste. Yingling Traditional Lager is a true original. So plug in, rock out,
Get better with
and
the
let
comments
the
here.
night take flight. Because this lager is good to the last sip and good to the last call. So score big with the classic flavor and delicious taste of Yingling Traditional Lager. Spread your wings.
What were you saying? I'm sorry.
No.
Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please drink.
Oh, okay.
The season is in full swing and the action is still unfolding, so head over to DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, and check out all they have to offer. To celebrate Sunday's action, DraftKings is ensuring all new users are covered up to $100. That's right, you bet they cover with risk-free Sunday betting. This weekend, there's plenty of action to get in on, so head to the app now to start making it rain. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code EMPIRE when you sign up to get this can't-miss offer. DraftKings Sportsbook is insuring your Sunday bets up to $100. That's right, you bet, and they cover up to $100 when you use promo code EMPIRE during sign-up. For a limited time, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey only. Risk-free coverage paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Anyone who has ever needed self-storage knows what a hassle it can be. You have to rent or borrow a truck and then find someone to help you move your stuff. And let's face it, moving furniture and heavy items without damaging them isn't easy. Renting the unit is worse. The hidden fees and admin costs are scarier than the dingy facilities you're leaving your stuff in. Why not use Closet Box instead? Closet Box is self-storage without leaving home. They'll pick up your belongings, store them securely, and bring any item back when you need it.
Chris?
Yeah?
We don't hit the whole intro again for
No.
coming back, right? Okay. 1 minute.
Storage movers are
Thank you,
licensed,
Harv.
bonded, and insured and will
Appreciate
take
that,
care of
brother.
all of the heavy lifting. Closet Box's local storage center.
Am I Harv or is that someone else?
That's somebody else.
Okay. I don't hate that name.
7-233-5696 now for the season's best rates. Get $50 off first month storage using code RADIO50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
Spectrum Mobile is the fastest growing mobile provider in the nation. It's easy to see why millions have chosen a better way to mobile. With Spectrum Mobile, there are no contracts and no added fees. Even nationwide 5G is included at no extra cost. Switch today and you could save big. Grab your current mobile bill and use the Spectrum Mobile Savings Calculator.
And 10.
Go to spectrummobile.com/saving today. Spectrum Internet required based on Q2 2020 subscriber data. Services not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
Mike's hot.
All right. Brian in Flemington is next at his opportunity to try to beat the fat man. Mr. Brian in Flemington, how are you this evening?
I am good, Chris. It's a pleasure to talk to you. And after hearing some of those questions, I'm not too confident here.
Brian, how old are you?
I am 61.
61. All right. So you would say your wheelhouse is probably more 70s and 80s, yeah?
Absolutely.
Well, it looks like I'm in good shape then. At least not physically, but emotionally. At any rate, what do you say we do it? How about that?
Let's do it, Chris.
All right, let's do it. Brian and Flemington trying to beat the fat man. Bring it on. All right, Nikki.
All right, Chris, we are going to toss you into isolation. Chat with you soon. Hey, Chris.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, starting with the 80s. The leader of the A-Team was Colonel John Hannibal Smith. Who played him?
George Papard.
All right, you both got that one, so we are tied 1-1.
Who played him in the movie, Brian?
Oh, I never saw the movie. I have no clue.
Liam Neeson.
Okay, you know what? I did know that only because I Googled Liam for something else one day and saw that he was in that.
Well, there you go.
No bonus points for either of you, though. All right. All right, we're going to the second question. Chris, we'll chat with you in a sec.
All right. George Papard. Also in the movie, The Thing with Two Heads with Rosie Greer. Well worth checking out.
All right, Chris?
Yes.
All right. From the 90s, what was the catchphrase from the sci-fi hit X-Files?
The truth is out there.
That is correct.
Yes. Did he get it?
He did not.
Oh!
That puts you up 1 point. 2-1. All right.
2-1.
Final question. Let's pop you into isolation.
All righty.
Hey, Chris?
Yes.
For our 2000s, in the ABC sitcom My Wife and Kids, who plays the husband and father, Michael Kyle?
My Wife and Kids.
In the ABC sitcom, because primetime only.
My
My Wife and Kids. Who plays the husband and father, Michael Kyle?
This is a pure guess. Well, it's one of two guys. Cedric the Entertainer?
I am so sorry. You both got that wrong.
Who was it? Anthony Anderson?
Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans.
Damon
Wayans.
Wayans.
What am I thinking?
Unfortunately, you both got that wrong.
Well, that still means I won.
You won.
Yes. Yes, Brian. Yes.
Take care. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Brian. Go home and tell your mother you're a flop. Well, I might have had a long time off, but some things don't matter, do they, Nikki? Sometimes you can just get right back on the horse and the magic happens.
You are a magical person, Chris, so that all makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah. I feel good about myself now. I haven't felt good about myself in quite some time. I feel good about myself right now. That has established my self-esteem for the rest of the night. Okay.
That makes me kind of sad.
Yeah, it should. It should. It is very sad, but it's very true. Carlin on 98.7 ESPN at 800-919-3776. We have time to discuss so much. Joe Douglas in his comment earlier today that Adam Gase is part of the solution. We also can get into Sam Darnold. We can especially get into Daniel Jones last night and everything that we had from Buster Olney earlier, including the fact that the guy that sounds like he might be a strong possibility to run the Mets, Chris Antonetti from the Indians. Excellent stuff. Sit tight. We'll get to it in just moments, but get on board right now. Open lines the rest of the way at 800-919-3776. Carlin on 98.7 ESPN.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant
4 minutes.
Saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on through the 5 words he spoke before leaving for his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. Words that live in veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians who go out of their way to find a way, who help others with the help of others, who bounce back after each setback, who make good on good intentions. Through Travis Manion Foundation, if not me, then who, are words that can live in you too. Show the world what your character is made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org. That's travismanion.org.
Playing fantasy sports will not get you into shape. It's time to trim down and get yourself healthy. It only takes 40 days to lose 20 to 40 plus pounds with NJ Diet. NJ Diet's contractually guaranteed money-back program starts with bioenergetically personalized supplements based on your hair, saliva, and blood work. NJ Diet then uses DNA testing to create your ideal diet plan and workout regimen to help you keep it off for the rest of your life. Not sure if you can do it alone? NJ Diet is with you every step of the way. You're fully monitored by their certified staff to make sure you're burning fat, not just losing water. You'll also have access to the doctor's personal email and phone number. NJ Diet is committed to you keeping the weight off. It's all natural, no shots, no hormones, and no surgery. They have multiple locations in New York City, Westchester, Long Island, New Jersey, and Connecticut. Lose 20 to 40 plus pounds in only 40 days. Contractually guaranteed. Visit njdiet.com or call 855-5NJ-DIET. That's 855-5NJ-DIET. Go to njdiet.com and lose the weight for good.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-687-5192. That's 800-687-5192. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-687-5192.
Anyone who has ever needed
1 minute.
hassle it can be.
Okey doke.
You have to rent or borrow a truck
So we
and then
just have
find someone
David,
to help
right?
you move your stuff.
Correct.
Moving furniture and heavy items without damaging them isn't easy. Renting the unit is worse.
just have
The
David
hidden
in the Bronx
fees and
right now.
admin
Yes.
Okay.
facilities you're leaving your stuff in. Why not use Closet Box instead? Closet Box is self-storage without leaving home. They'll pick up your belongings, store them securely, and bring any item back when you need it. The best part? Unlike traditional self-storage, you only pay for what you store. No paying for unused storage space. Closet Box's background check storage movers are licensed, bonded, and insured and will take care of all of the heavy lifting. Closet Box's local storage centers are temperature controlled and monitored 24/7. Closet Box has an A+ rating from the BBB. Call 877-233-5696 now for this.
And 10?
$50 off first month storage using code radio50. That's 877-233-5696. 877-233-5696.
Mike's hot.
Carlin, 98.7 ESPN, 800-919-3776. I want to go back to last night in a second before we get back to the calls and what we saw from Daniel Jones. And look, I know fans get frustrated, and I heard a lot today of it. Had to sneeze. Spared you that. You watch him last night, and you wonder if this is ever going to be the guy. Because the decisions that continue to get made are astounding. But I have to say, as much as the turnover numbers are going to bother you, and they're going to bother you when there are 36 in 21 career games now, you have to really look more toward the plays that he's not making outside of the turnovers. Like last night, I think was a microcosm of the problems that this guy has. Because when you're in that position of missing as many throws as he did, I mean, he had Slayton open deep a couple of times. He had Tate open deep once. He had, what's his head? The other guy open deep the other time. Sterling Shepard deep down the sideline another time. Just missing guys by 3 and 4 yards when they're open. That's got to be incredibly frustrating for those receivers. But at the same time, for Jones, either put some more air under the ball or just get a better handle on what you're doing. Because, frankly, when you're missing that badly, it makes me think you're either, A, just in such a hurry to get rid of the football that you're worried about what's coming, Or B, you just haven't adapted to your receivers and worked with them enough. Whatever it is, it's bad. Like the picks are bad, and turnovers are always awful, but when you miss making the big plays too, that's an ugly combination like we talked about. Eli, in 2005, in year 2 for him, still threw interceptions, but he did not miss that amount of plays at all. He didn't miss them. When they came available, a lot of times he came through. Let's hit David in the Bronx next. David, what's going on with you, bud?
Hey, how's it going, Carlin?
Not too bad,
Oh,
brother.
man, I listen to you every night.
Thanks.
Believe me, I love your show. I even love some of the people that come to talk to you on the show. But I'm calling because, and I thought I was going to be part of that game, but I couldn't believe that you both callers, those two contestants, and there was 2 questions that I was screaming at the radio about. The one about Martin.
Yeah, that's a
and
bad
his
job.
2 best friends. That is my favorite show. I could not believe you guys couldn't get. And then the other one was
I haven't
my
seen
wife
it in
and
forever. I have
said,
not
"Oh
seen
my
it in
God,
forever.
I cannot believe they couldn't get the answers to those questions. And believe me, there's a lot of questions that I don't know the answers to on there.
Well, what was the other one that bugged you?
I'll admit it. But those 2 questions.
What was the
I
other
could
question
not
besides the
believe.
Martin one?
The other one was my wife and kids.
Oh.
When who played
Damon Wayans.
Damon
That-
Wayans.
if I'm not mistaken, that's Friday night ABC. Am I right about that?
Do you know how many reruns they play of that show on BET? It's like, believe me, it's not just ABC that it comes on.
Yeah, I
That
haven't.
show has been going on
I'm
for a
not
while.
going to sit here and tell you I ever watched it. I never did. For
I
some
cannot
reason, I thought it was Cedric the Entertainer or
Oh, my
Anthony
God.
Anderson.
And did you-
But Anthony
okay,
Anderson
can I-
is
can I
obviously
ask you this
Blackish,
question?
which
Can I
I've
ask you this
seen,
question?
and that's an
Can I
excellent
ask
show.
you this question? Like your other caller that loves to ask questions, the one with that beautiful voice,
Richard,
and you have a whole introduction for him. That's my guy. I got to give him a shout out. But there's a girl that plays the wife of Damon Wayans on that show, My Wife and Kids. She was off. I'll give you a hint. I'll even give you a hint. She was the girlfriend of Martin. Who is that girl?
What's the actress's name?
Yeah.
I can picture her, for Pete's sake.
Oh my God! I gave you a big hint just now. God, oh my good. Come on, Carlin, please don't tell me. Oh
I
my God.
haven't
Okay,
watched Martin in forever.
All right. I'll tell you this much.
Gina.
You can give me. You don't even have to give me her actual name.
I'm sorry. You know what? It's Gina. Gina.
Yeah, okay.
Gina.
There we go. All right. Okay. At least you got that. Oh, thank God. Man. Oh, man. This is a pleasure.
Disappointing. A disappointing effort, Dave. Thanks for the call. I'm sorry. I feel like I have let a lot of people down. Not the first time. Not the first time. Yes, that was a bad showing by me, but I still won. You know, what are you going to do? But I haven't seen Martin in forever. I used to watch it on reruns on, on Fox, on Channel 5. But I just haven't seen, I probably haven't seen it in a good 6-7 years at least. At least. Man. 800-919-3776. 800-919-ESPN. The other stuff I want to get into from a baseball standpoint is what we heard from Buster Olney earlier. And talking about the Mets and Chris Antonetti. And the idea that he could come here. Think about a couple of years ago. Mike Chernoff interviewed and went and met with the Mets, but he wasn't going to take the job because you had the Wilpons in place. Think about how much better the job has become now because the Wilpons are departing. that guys want the job. I mean, there are other people who have wanted it, but the top level people didn't want to go and work there because they knew it was going to be a mess. They knew it was absolutely going to be a mess. So they didn't want to do that to their careers. And at the time, they were right. But now you've got a chance to get the top level executives and the top, trying to put together scouting staffs and all of the infrastructure that has been missing from the Mets. We can talk all we want about the free agents, about the draft, all that kind of stuff. But the infrastructure with analytics, with all of it, is going to be there now. And remember, like a year ago, they're making a big deal about hiring an extra analytics guy in Adam Guttridge. And he's going to be the game changer when it comes to the Mets and analytics. Oh, come on. Now, there's so much about it outside of the obvious that doesn't change, or that changes, that makes it so much more attractive, not just for free agents, but for everybody else who helps make organizations championship organizations. And I think from that standpoint, maybe we overlook it a little bit. Maybe we don't look at it enough and realize that there's so much more to it. We know about analytics, but there's scouting staffs, there's departments, there's entire infrastructures of organization. And the Mets have not had a good one in a long, long time. So now they get an opportunity to build from within that way. As we talked to Buster about, the fact that Sandy is going to be there and is going to put them in a position now to, hire the right president of operations, hire the right GM, hire the right people underneath them, assistant GMs, all of the people that will be involved in that decision-making, and how much smarter they will be and how much more money will be available to go out and bring in the best of the best. Boy, that's even more appetizing for this sale. And it's one that we haven't necessarily taken enough of a look at. But boy, it is a big, big part of things moving forward for the New York Mets. 800-919-3776. Mets, Yankees, DJ LeMahieu, Daniel Jones, all of the stuff with Joe Douglas earlier today. It is all on the table the rest of the way, right here. Open lines, 800-919-3776. Larry Hardesty coming your way at the top of the hour. It's Carlin on 98.7 ESPN.
All right, your next FanDuel in 30.
If you keep having to ask the question about whether or not Daniel Jones is your quarterback, eventually you're going to land on the answer.
You're right. I need to see what he is for 8 games because I want to see as much as I can of him to know whether he's the answer or not. I need more.
I don't want to see what the offense looks like with Colt McCoy as your quarterback. I have no interest in that at all.
DCR is DiPietro, Canty, and Rothenberg. Catch them weekday mornings at 9 on 98.7 ESPN.
All right, friends. You know how I feel about FanDuel, and you know that my new favorite NFL bet this season I've been playing is the same game parlays on FanDuel Sportsbook. It's the most fun I've ever had betting because pretty simple. All you got to do is combine multiple bets from one game into a single parlay. Now, this way the payouts are even bigger when you win. And what's cool, too, is FanDuel will refund you the first same-game parlay you lose on any NFL game each week up to $10. I got it this past weekend. Came very close to winning. Got 3 out of 4, lost, but I got my $10 back. That means you can bet a different parlay risk-free every NFL week all season long. This coming week, how about the Raiders and the Chargers? A little over-under. Maybe you mix in some Josh Jacobs rushing yardage with some Justin Herbert throwing yardage. If you like my picks, go ahead and bet them. You're going to get $10 back if you don't win. Now, there is one catch. FanDuel is the only sportsbook app that has same-game parlay bets. So if you don't already have a FanDuel account, just use promo code Carlin when you sign up so they know the big fella sent you. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code Carlin. 21 and older, present in New Jersey or Pennsylvania. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Terms apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
In 2007,
All right, 3:15.
in Iraq, after
And you have one more NJ diet if you want to do here or final, whenever.
for his final deployment, if not me, then who?
Oh, wait, this is your final. So here.
Words that live in veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians who go out of their way to find a way, who help others with the help of others, who bounce back after each setback, who make good on good intentions. Through Travis Manion Foundation, if not me, then who, are words that can live in you too. Show the world what your character is made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org. That's travismanion.org.
Hey, it's Michael K. Tune in for my show Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m., presented by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com today.
The baseball offseason has begun. Free agency has begun. It's a new world for the New York Mets with a new owner, and the Yankees are always going to be interesting. The guy who knows it all is Buster Olney, who joins us right now. And Buster, you're writing about this today. The idea that for most free agents, this could be an offseason of cold. Not exactly what they want to hear going right into it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a brutal off season for most free agents. You know, I was talking with an agent today about the situation, and he said, you know, going into the last week, his feeling was just watch what happens with Brad Hand, who he felt like was going to be a barometer for what's to come. You're talking about, you know, an all-star reliever for the Cleveland Indians 3 times over, just came off a terrific season. The Indians had an option to keep him for 2021 at $10 million on a one-year contract. And they decided, you know what, that's too rich for us. They tried to trade him. They called around all other teams. There were no takers. They put him on waivers. Any team could have taken him for like $50,000 is, you know, with that contract, no one took him. So we've gone from a situation where you see relievers getting up to $75 million like Aroldis Chapman to a point now where all-star relievers on a one-year contract for $10 million is too rich for the market. That is a real sign about where we're going to go with free agents this year in a season of coronavirus.
All right, Buster, let's start with the Yankees because that's a little bit more of the known. They exercise the option on Zach Britton to bring him back. But what seems to be unclear a little bit is exactly how far they're going to be willing to go with DJ LeMahieu. What's your early read on the situation?
It was interesting. You know, there was some speculation as we got near the end of the regular season. LeMahieu might get something in the range of 4 years and $25 million a year. And I can tell you both agents and club officials were like, no. That's not where this market's going.
You know, Joe Douglas earlier today was speaking with the media and said something that I don't think any of us really expected him to say. And let's explain it in just a moment, but first, you need to hear it. Play it.
In your opinion, can this team get to where you want it to be with Adam as the head coach?
Yes. You know, ultimately, like I said, I have to do a better job for all these coaches and players. And the hope is that we can fix these problems together and be here together for a while.
So you're saying he's part of the solution then?
Yes.
See, Joe took the bait a little bit there from Rich, and he didn't need to because that's going to be the headline out of all of this, isn't it? It's going to be Joe Douglas says Adam Gase is part of the solution. And I don't necessarily believe that's what the case is. Now, when Joe goes out of his way and says that there, you have to bear something in mind. There's a much better way of saying it when you're talking about we, when you're talking about we have to do a better job, I have to do a better job. He's out there trying to take the bullets today. But all he has to do is say, when that follow-up question comes, is, hey, we all have to do this together and be part of the solution together. We have to do it to be part of the solution. Doesn't have to directly answer that with Adam, because now it's going to end up looking a little bit sillier later in the year. The biggest problem, though, with this situation is that Joe Douglas does not have the power to hire and fire the head coach. And the Jets structure is so badly set up that you can't succeed. And I understand that other teams do it this way. Maybe even half the teams in the league, that's fine. But you have a remarkably inexperienced owner in Christopher Johnson. You have somebody there that, hey, you can be the owner of a football team. You should not be hiring a head coach. You should be leaving that to football people to hire a head coach. Hiring Adam Gase, getting blown away in an interview after what you just saw him do in Miami, and Peyton Manning picks up the phone, so you hire him. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to let people who have worked in this business for their entire lives do this. And really, if you want to get technical, you know what it all goes back to? Charlie freaking Casserly. Because the Jets brought him in to be their consultant to when they decided to fire Rex, and they brought in Todd Bowles, and they brought in Mike McCagnon. And he brought them in separately, and Charlie said, have them report separately. First of all, the hiring of both was a mistake. It was an arranged marriage. Neither of these guys knew each other. And secondly, they shouldn't have been the guys who were selected. Mike McCagnon shouldn't have been the GM. Todd Bowles is a good defensive coordinator. Did he deserve a chance as a head coach? Yeah, maybe. But you want to have a GM help make the decision on who that head coach is. And so this time around coming up, considering what the structure is, you're hopeful that at the very least, Christopher Johnson is going to take into account that you have an excellent football man in charge already. The best thing the Jets have done over the last 5 to 8 years is hire Joe Douglas. That's the best thing they have done. But what I would tell you is that if you don't give that guy the opportunity to do the job the right way, when you don't have expertise, when you haven't been involved with the organization for a long time and understand all of the business of football and learn about it as you go along, you really are not doing yourself any favors by going out and hiring the coach yourself. You're not. And if you think that Douglas and Gase are tied together, Gase knew Douglas, knew what a smart football man he was, and wanted to try to get him in the building. But that doesn't mean that Joe Douglas is going to sacrifice his career for Adam Gase. Remember one thing. He got a 6-year contract, Douglas did, for a reason. This was a highly respected individual who was going to have his pick of GM jobs that following offseason had the Jets not fired McCagnon when they did, and had they not stepped up and given him what they needed to give him. So you did all of that. Let him pick the guy. Let him pick the head coach. Joe made a misstep today when he said that about Gase. But the guy's coming out saying he made a mistake about Robbie Anderson. He's trying to take all the blame. That's what a stand-up guy does in that instance. He's trying to defend his guys, too. He's never going to say a negative word about Sam Darnold. Of course not. Why would he ever do that? You don't know how the next 8 games are going to play out. First of all, this kid could be the quarterback of the future if you don't end up with the number 1 overall pick. And secondly, even if you do, Trevor Lawrence may not want to play here. So then you have to worry about fixing those relationships. No, at this point, if you're expecting him to say anything else, you're just not paying attention. The one thing he did wrong, instead of saying that Adam Gase is part of the solution, all he had to do was say, we all want to be part of the solution together. When you say that, you're not giving a direct public endorsement. Then words are not being parsed. That's a direct statement. Tom is in Brooklyn. He's next on 98.7 ESPN. Hello, Tom.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I just want to talk about Joe Douglas's comments. You know, he seems like a stand-up guy or whatever, but in the end, let's say the Jets go 0-16. The nightmare for us is they bring Gase back and they trade the number 1 overall pick.
They're not bringing Gase back. They're not bringing Gase back. They are not bringing Gase back. There is no chance that Adam Gase is coming back if the Jets go 0-16.
You're confident in Christopher Johnson for him to listen to some other idiot like Peyton Manning, who, by the way, Peyton Manning said, I don't want to come to your team, but let's listen to him for advice, because that makes perfect sense.
Oh, I totally agree. If you really think about it, hey, Tom, think about it for a second. Peyton Manning didn't want to come to the Jets, so he went back to college. Then he recommended Adam Gase to be the head coach. And then do you think that Trevor Lawrence is going to have a conversation with Peyton Manning at some point? And if the Jets fire Adam Gase, which they should, you think Peyton Manning's going to be, speaking nicely about the Jets? Probably not.
I don't trust Christopher Johnson at all, and nothing will ever surprise me with this team. They could bring back Gase at 0-16. Would I be surprised? No, they do everything wrong with the organization. They don't know how to do anything.
If the Jets go 0-16 and they bring back Adam Gase, they should just fold the franchise. They should fold the franchise. Huh?
You're going to see an empty MetLife Stadium. Because I already know people who have season tickets because of the COVID thing. They didn't opt in for next year already. Now, if Gase comes back, forget it. Everybody's done. You're going to see an empty MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, look, if Gase is back, there's nobody that's going to be able to deal with that well. Thanks for the call. And if the Jets go 0-16, Gase is not going to be back. He can't be back. It won't happen. It won't happen. Gase is not going to be the head coach of the Jets in 2021. I am not going to back off that notion at all. He can't be. He can't be. He can't be. Even if the Jets won the rest of their games, he can't be. He can't be. He can't be. Christopher Johnson, as much as he said at the beginning of the year he's an offensive genius, and for what Joe said today, can't happen. Can't happen. Now, let's be clear. I am 100% confident in saying that he will be gone, despite what Joe said today. Joe, what he was doing today was just trying to do the right thing. Not trying to dump on anybody. Especially since he doesn't have hiring and firing power. You know, if he had hiring and firing power, the answer would have been different. The answer would have been, well, we evaluate everything at the end of the season, and that's how this works. So we'll evaluate everything as the season goes along, but, you know, that's how the business is. He doesn't. So with that being the case, you understand where they are. You understand that he's not going to badmouth the head coach with whom right now he's on the same reporting level, which is just stupid. It's been such a bad structure for them from the beginning. It may work for some teams. It may work for the Kansas City Chiefs with the Hunt family that has owned the franchise since its inception, basically. It may work for teams that are long-standing owners, that have long-standing owners. And yes, the Jets have Woody Johnson for the last 20 years. Well, for the last 4, he's been overseas. And Christopher's been here running it. And this whole structure has been a real problem from the get-go.
NJ Lotto.
A real problem from the get-go. This portion of Carlin is brought to you by the New Jersey Lottery. $137 million Powerball jackpot means you could buy the rarest luxury cars for yourself or even your friends, and they don't even have to like luxury cars. You could just do it. That's right. The New Jersey Lottery, friends. Anything can happen in Jersey when you take a chance on Powerball. It's so disappointing to hear a comment like that from Joe today, but I know where it came from. And I just think, you know, when you see it on the back page tomorrow, and when you're reading the stories about it, you're going to think one thing, and the other may be true. But that's why you have to be very careful in these situations to not pin yourself down, because you end up looking silly later on. And when you say you believe he's part of the solution and the owner's going to fire him later, even though you're out there doing the right thing, doesn't help. Doesn't help. All right, that's going to do it for me. Larry Hardesty is coming up next with ESPN New York Tonight. No matter the outcome tonight, let's all be civil to one another. How about that? Nikki Hartman has done a phenomenal job on this show, and I am going to miss her dearly. Over the last year, she has really become a tremendous producer, and she is on to better things. Nikki, great job. Best of luck, and lose the number.
Thanks, Chris. Will do.
No, you better be in charge. You better be in touch. Good luck to Nikki. We love Nikki. She's done an amazing job. Ty Butler, tremendous job as well. Larry is up next with ESPN New York Tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7. Carlin, out.
Spectrum Mobile is the fastest growing mobile.
Bye, Chris.